You've probably heard of David Goggins, right? The guy has one of the most intense mental frameworks you'll ever come across. So, what we're going to do today is really deconstruct his core philosophy, how to seize control of your mind and unlock what you're truly, truly capable of. And it really all kicks off with this one single, super powerful idea. Goggins argues that when you strip everything else away, your phone, your computer, any outside help, the only thing you've got left is your mind. And that, right there, leads to the big question, the one at the heart of his entire philosophy. Because as he sees it, there is a constant, raging battle for control happening inside your own head. So let's dive into this first principle, weaponizing your mind. See, the big challenge here is that our brains, by default, are just hardwired to seek comfort. They want the easy path. And when times get tough, your brain can actually work against you. And Goggins really hammers this point home. You know those moments that truly define you? Depression, hardship, loss. You can't just Google the answer for that stuff. You're just stuck in your own head 24/7. And that inner voice, it can either be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. So this is not some passive thing, right? You have to get in the driver's seat and actively command your mind. You tell it where you're going. You dictate the path. Because if you let your brain's natural desire for comfort take the wheel, well, it's already over. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? This brings us to his foundational technique for taking control. He calls it the go back again method, and it is all about forging skill through just relentless, brute force repetition. And this is a perfect illustration of how he did it. When he was trying to learn, he didn't just give it one shot. He would fail, he'd hit a wall. But then he'd reset himself, take a breath, and go again. If reading a paragraph wasn't working, he'd adapt. He'd start writing it out, over and over and over. It's this brutal, simple cycle. Fail, reset, repeat, adapt, until you master it. And here's the absolute game changer, the real key to this whole thing. This method only works if your brain truly understands that quitting is not on the table. When your mind finally realizes you are not going to stop, that there is no escape route, it has no choice but to adapt and figure it out. All right, so once you've got that down, once you can force your mind to adapt, you're ready to go to the next level. And this is where it gets really interesting. It's about completely changing your mind's definition of normal. It's about making suffering your new baseline. So what does that actually mean? Think of it like this. The new norm is when you basically live in hardship for so long that it just stops feeling like a crisis. It starts to feel like home. Your mind just accepts this new, tougher reality as the standard. And you can bet Goggins lived this. During Navy SEAL training, this became his reality. He literally told himself that being in a state of constant physical breakdown wasn't the exception, it was the expectation. That was his new normal. Now, this wasn't just some abstract idea he had in his head. No. Look at what this actually meant. We're talking duct taping his own feet up, running on stress fractures, shin splints. Every single day was just suffering. And eventually his mind just adapted. It got to the point where it was like, Roger that, this is the new normal. In fact, if we're not broken, something feels wrong. So, you might be asking, why? Why on earth would anyone go through all of this? Well, here's the payoff. The result of this whole brutal process is the shocking realization that our perceived limits are a complete and total illusion. You discover what you're actually made of. I mean, just look at this comparison. It is absolutely staggering. Goggins says the scariest thing to him is that he once truly believed his 100% potential was the man on the left. It wasn't until he forced himself through unimaginable pain that he discovered the person on the right was buried inside him the entire time. Just the physical change, losing 106 pounds, that alone tells you just how much untapped potential he was just leaving on the table. And that's really the core message, isn't it? Most of us think we're trying hard, but deep down, our minds know we're lying to ourselves. Goggins argues that true effort, that obsessive, relentless effort, that's where you find out who you really are. And all of this, it leads us to the final and maybe the most profound piece of this whole puzzle. The ultimate reward for all this suffering, it isn't fame or money. It's something much deeper, a kind of unconventional peace. Just try to imagine this for a second, knowing with 100% certainty
that you can survive anything. That's the feeling he's talking about. When you know you can function while broken, when you know you have a place in your mind that no one can ever touch, that gives you this quiet, unshakable confidence. But, and this is a big but, he makes it crystal clear that this kind of peace, it's not a one-and-done deal. It's earned through the daily suffering of accountability, holding yourself to the highest possible standard, day in and day out. It's miserable, it's hard, but that's the price you pay for that confidence.
And right there, that's the central paradox of his whole philosophy. Most of us think peace comes from avoiding pain, from seeking comfort. Goggins says he found his peace on the complete opposite end of that, by going through the suffering, through the relentless accountability it took to forge a new self. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with one last really powerful question. We all have a version of ourselves we're disappointed in, and a version we know we could be. The path Goggins lays out is unbelievably brutal, but it forces us to ask, what's really waiting on the other side of our own comfort zones? You have to ask yourself, where is the opposite end for you?